You know, I've been saying for quite some time that I think Donald Trump is unwell. I think his brain is broken. He is unable to speak about complicated topics in a coherent way. His brain seems to be playing on repeat. He talks about the same things over and over and over again. And he really could be showing signs of some sort of dementia as he continues to diminish in his old age. And as we crossed over this 100-day mark, he was kind of making the rounds to different folks to give interviews. And he actually sat down with ABC's Terry Moran. And this very well could be the most humiliating interview that I have ever seen Donald Trump give. And I know that is saying a lot. But they are discussing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is the man that was disappeared by the Trump administration without any due process. They shipped him off to a gulag down in El Salvador. And even though the Supreme Court issued a 9-0 decision saying that they needed to facilitate his return, the Trump administration has made no attempts to actually get this guy back. And as we go through this interview, I just want you to ask yourself one question. Is Donald Trump stupid? Is his brain broken? Or maybe is it a combination of both? We'll go ahead and start off with some more relatively normal clips. Here, Donald Trump is saying that he thinks that these court rulings will actually be overturned. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
Let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you know, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
This is not an acceptable answer. You can't just say, oh, well, the lawyer should have went into court and said that, and actually that lawyer's been around a long time, and we didn't appoint him, and he went and told the truth in court, and he really shouldn't. That is not acceptable. And it is not an excuse for what your administration has done to this man. And like we have said many times before, we are not defending the man, we are defending the principle of due process. Even if this guy committed the most heinous crime in the world, he would still deserve his due process. And that is what the Supreme Court held in their 9-0 decision. They looked at this case and said, hey, this is not right. You need to facilitate this guy's return. He needs to be afforded the due process like everybody else is afforded in this country. And for Donald Trump to just try to shove it off on the lawyer saying, oh, well, he went and told the truth and I don't have anything to do, that is not acceptable. Lawyers are obligated to tell the truth in court, and they did admit that this was a mistake. But the Trump administration doesn't want to appear weak, and they have not tried at all to try to get this man back, even though the Supreme Court has told them to do so. And then Trump goes on to admit something that I don't think he has ever admitted before. Check this out.
The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court.
What is he talking about? What do you mean? Oh, if you wanted me to keep him, I'd probably keep him right where he is. That's exactly what is happening. Even though the Supreme Court has ordered you to facilitate his return. And then Trump tries again to pawn off all the blame to all of the lawyers, saying, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of lawyers and they don't want it to happen. And, you know, he's not really a great guy anyway. It is all a load of shit. The Trump administration has provided no evidence that this guy is part of a gang. There has been no crimes that he has been convicted of. He is not being accused of any more crimes. Instead, this is a, innocent man that they have rounded up without any due process, and then they shipped him off to another country, to a torturous prison in El Salvador. And you're just trying to say, oh, Well, the lawyers, it's the lawyers. And I don't know if you guys caught it there in the beginning, but he admitted that he could get on the phone with Bukele, the president of El Salvador, and actually facilitate his return. So why isn't that happening? Why isn't that happening? Because this administration doesn't want to appear weak. They don't want to admit that they made a mistake. And now this is where the interview goes off the rails, guys. I don't know if you guys remember. After Kilmar Abrego Garcia, it was found out that he was deported without any due process. He wasn't even deported. He was disappeared. But the Trump administration came out with this image, trying to prove that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was actually an MS-13 gang member. This is the propaganda that they put out. And I'll actually go ahead and make this image a little bit bigger for you. Look at the knuckles here. You see what it says? MS-13. This was an attempt from the Trump administration to try to decode the tattoos that this man had on his knuckles to try to make the case that he was actually part of a gang. Okay? This is a piece of propaganda. This was a way to try to demonize this man to the American people. That is what this image is. Okay? Now, Donald Trump goes on to talk about this image. I'm trying not to laugh because this is just so insane, guys. Donald Trump thinks, in earnest, that this guy had MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. If you don't believe me, just check this out.
He said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay.
This is embarrassing. Do you see what Donald Trump is saying here? He said, the MS-13, MS-13 right across the knuckles. I saw it in the image, guys. What do you mean it was photoshopped? I saw it right there in the image. What do you mean he doesn't have MS-13 tattoo? I saw it myself. Donald Trump, just imagine what is going on here, has been tricked by his own propaganda. His team put this out to try to demonize a man, to try to, make excuses for why they deported this man. They circulate this image trying to decode his knuckle tattoos, which were wrong, by the way. If you talk to any expert, they'll tell you that MS-13 is not a shy gang, and they are unlikely to do some decoded or encoded message across the knuckles. It just makes absolutely no sense. But that's neither here nor there. Donald Trump is saying that I saw MS-13 on his knuckles, so it must be real. Now, Terry Moran tries to move on from this, but Donald Trump just continues to dig himself into a deeper hole.
Hey, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
Why don't you guys say, yes, he actually does have MS-13 across his knuckles? Why can't you just say that and we can just move on? Because it's not true, Donald Trump. You have been conned by your own propaganda. You have been tricked by your own administration. How is this even possible that the most powerful man in the world doesn't understand that this was a decoded message that his team put out to try to sell the narrative that this guy was in a gang? How is that possible? Instead, you have Donald Trump, an addled old man who said, I saw it with my own two eyes, guys. This couldn't possibly be photoshopped. I saw it. It said MS-13. That's what it said. it wouldn't... This should be something that we could laugh at, but because this is such a serious matter, just think about what is actually going on here. You have a Trump administration who has been so careless, who has used these random tattoos to condemn a man to a gulag in El Salvador. This is how careless this administration is being. They just do not care. If they deem that you are part of the outgroup, if you're an undesirable, then the cruelty is the point. Now, it would be one thing if they were, removing these people to El Salvador, maybe dropping them off at the airport or a bus stop, but they're sending them to a torturous prison that is known for their human rights abuses. And as we learned, 70 to 90% of that first batch of people down there, they don't even have criminal records. So ostensibly, these people are innocent, and they have been sent to a gulag in El Salvador. We don't even know if they're going to be able to get out ever. Is that what we should be doing here in the United States? And then Donald Trump goes on to try to slander the news agency, saying, well, you're just a bunch of fake news because you don't agree with my telling of the story.
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
and
happy.
Then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. All right. I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No, I
just
am
tell
not,
you,
sir.
do I trust?
The only person who is being dishonest in this interaction is the Trump administration people. They circulated this image to try to demonize a man, to try to make the American people believe that he was actually part of this MS-13 gang, and Donald Trump fell for the narrative. He saw the decoded image and said, hey, look, he actually has those characters on his knuckles. That's why he's sitting in a gulag in El Salvador. That's why we're not trying to get him back. Let's remember, Donald Trump just admitted that he could pick up the phone, he could call President Bukele, and he could facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return, just like the Supreme Court has ordered them to do. But instead, he's still rotting in a prison cell down in El Salvador. This is what Donald Trump's America has become. They are being cruel for cruelty's sake. They are disgusting human beings. Every single person who's been involved in this kidnapping and disappearing, this human trafficking type scheme, should be criminally prosecuted for what they have done here. And yes, they should be given their due process that they didn't afford these people. We are living in a world where the most powerful man in the world has bought into his own propaganda and is using that to carry out human rights abuses for ostensibly innocent people. It's an absolute disgrace. We are better than this in the United States of America. But we have a cruel administration who is so careless, who is so reckless, who is using whatever clothing garments, weird tattoos they might think is part of a gang, and they are shipping these people off to a prison that they might not ever step foot out of again. This is not okay, people. And for Donald Trump to buy into his team's own propaganda, I mean, it is probably, like I said, the most humiliating thing that I have ever seen out of Donald Trump. He is unwell. He is a stupid person. He really cannot distinguish between a decoded image and what the real tattoos on this man's knuckles actually were. And he is the most powerful man in the world who is carrying out atrocities under the guise or under the United States banner, right? We gotta stand up against this. We have to continue to protest for people like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Like we've said before, it's not about the man, it's about the principle. There's other people down there, like Andre, the gay makeup artist or hairdresser or whatever it was. It doesn't appear like he was involved in any gang activity. He wasn't charged with any crimes. He wasn't convicted of any crimes. He's also sitting down there. We have many innocent people who are sitting in a prison down in El Salvador because this administration didn't want to do their due diligence and they wanted to strip due process rights away because they are tyrants. They wanted to make, they wanted to make their optics game strong. They wanted to put on a show for the American people. Look at me. I'm a big, bad, tough guy carrying out mass deportations. But instead, we're just engaging in human rights abuses that should be unthinkable in this day and age. And if this shit doesn't make your blood boil, I really don't know what will. We are better than this here in the United States, and we should be doing better, right? And it's really quite disturbing that we have 25 to 35% of the country that just rallies behind Donald Trump on every single thing that he does, even if innocent people are being sent off to torturous prison when they have done nothing wrong that we know about. So, I don't know. You guys tell me. Is Donald Trump dumb? Is he stupid? Is his brain broken? Or hell, is it a little bit of both? This is the most powerful man in the world. He's only been in office for a little over 100 days. And he is an absolute embarrassment to this country. And he is engaging in atrocities that, you know, should have been left in the past, right? So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just pushes this fascist nonsense for Donald Trump every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. It is free. And if you guys want to see how Donald Trump's polling is just cratering like you would not believe at his 100-day mark, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. He is even underwater on immigration. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.